Right. Was there any time that you wanted to give up?
Yeah, definitely. There
Or
was
and were your parents, by the way, like, when are you coming home?
no, my dad was like, go stay out there longer. My
Oh,
mom wanted me home for sure. Yeah, yeah. But once after the first year, I think then she was like, okay, he knows what he's doing. He made it.
mm,
He'll do fine. Yeah, after I got sick with that bacterial infection, I had just been in pain for so long. Like I said, I lost 45 pounds. I was vomiting. I was having these stomach spasms, and it was just like nightmarish for a few months at
mm,
least. And then when I picked up walking, my body gradually came back, but my mind was just scarred from
mm.
all that pain. And so normally I'm a very optimistic person, and instead all my optimism was sort of turned to pessimism. And when you're out walking all the time, it's wonderful because it's just you and you,
Yeah.
and you get a really clear shot of all your thoughts and all your emotions. And it's clarifying and it's insightful and it's really therapeutic. But if you're in a bad state, it's difficult because
Right.
you are not good company to yourself. And when it was raining, I would just be infuriated. I can't believe it's raining. This is, oh my God. And then I would camp and I'd go in and I'd be like sore. And then I'd just be pissed off that I'm sore after another day walking. And I would wake up and I go, oh my God, I can't believe I have to, I would walk another 24 miles to nowhere. I get to a cafe and it was closed and I would like scream at the sky. And I was just not good company to myself at all.
Mm.
And so, yeah, there was points where I was thinking, and I would love to be back home with my friends. And I remember talking to my best buddy, Fitz, and he was in New York and, he's doing his thing, he's hustling. And he was like, dude, you don't want to be back here. Like, I work all the time. Your other friends work all the time. This is something you dreamt about for years. Like, what are you going to do if you come back here? You're just going to work some job that you don't like and that, you left to do this. And that conversation helped. And I knew that. And I think what helped get me through ultimately was that, the world wall was this thing that I had found through my values. There wasn't something I did lightly. And I don't think you could do it lightly. But, at 17, when I thought about what do I want out of life? And that's what I came up with. And so I think I fell back on that because when I really played it out in my head, what would it be like if I gave up and if I moved back home? It's like, I don't want that. I'm living a great life
Yeah.
out here. It sucks right now, but this is fulfilling everything that I wanted. And eventually I was able to kind of get out of that darkness when I got onto the Camino de Santiago in Spain. And that was the first time I had like a community of people walking in the same direction I was. And it was just
Yeah.
helped me get out of my head a little bit, I
Right.
get
Did
to
you do that? Did you do that whole walk or did you do just parts of it?
I did a lot of it. I did it until the point, basically from the Pyrenees all the way down to Via de la Plata, and then I walked Via de la Plata, which is another Camino. So I walked more. I would say I walked more Caminos than the average person does. Just if they did the Camino de Santiago, so I probably walked like 80% of the Camino de Santiago.
This is so random. My mother, who is 78, for the last couple summers, she'll go with like 4 or 5 friends and they do a portion of it. And they
Yes.
like got a tattoo on their foot and they stay in like, I don't know, youth hostels or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Something like
yeah. The
one time
outriggers.
she
Yeah.
one time she got bed bugs. I mean, this is like an old woman doing this, but she figured that this was, like a very cool thing to do every summer with a group of women or whatever. And it was like has been life changing and very fun
Yeah,
for them.
that's like my
So
dream. I mean, you see people on the Camino. It's very made for that because town's every like 5 miles, and you can
yeah,
get people to just take your bags and send it up to the next hotel, and you could do it at 70. Clearly, I mean, she's doing
yeah.
it. But yeah, I would recommend it to anyone for sure.
Yeah. Do you have, I mean, I know you have a million memories that are amazing to you, but do you have one that you could share with us that for people thinking of, if this would be something they want to do, like just share a memory of like something that really stood out that made the trip for you?
Sure, I'd say like the height of the trip, I would say, was when I was actually even physically at the highest point or pretty close to the highest point that I've ever been. And so this was after a little over a year and a half, almost 2 years of walking. I was crossing the Andes from Chile into Peru, and I left this little oasis town. And that's at 6,000 feet. And then the first day, this is a crossing. It's a 5-day crossing to get up to this little border town up in up in the Andes to Argentina, and there's nothing up there. You're just in altiplano. But that first day, my cart was weighed down with as much water as it had ever been, probably weighed like 110, 120 pounds, and I had to push it up 9,000 feet in elevation to
Mm.
get to this plateau. And so that first day, I'm just like, I camp up there. And then also you're at altitude, so your body's not really healing as well as it does normally. So I'm in the best shape of my life, absolute physical max, but I am exhausted and my body's not recovering and it's cold. And at night, the tent frosts and I had to bring Savannah into the sleeping bag. I wear all my clothes. So I'm not sleeping great. And after 3 nights of this, or 4 nights, I camp in like the middle of nowhere, basically, where the wind is probably going 50 miles an hour. I find this little chain link fence that's around some like pipeline, probably like a gas pipeline, thing that's just in the middle of nowhere. And I tie my tent up to that and I sleep maybe 2 hours. I have so much sand on my tent that it's basically a little coffin
Mhm.
and it's slapping against my face. Savannah slept outside. It was too loud. She's like, I'm not sleeping in there. She dug a hole and slept outside. And in the morning, I get outside and I'm so tired, I just throw everything in my cart. Usually I pack it nice and neat. And then I began pushing the cart through the sand. And the sand, it's tough to push through. It's
Yes.
tiring and you're slipping and your feet are slipping, the tires slipping. And the cart slips a little bit to the right. And I'm basically leaned forward already just to edge this thing forward. And I fall face first into the sand out of exhaustion. Like my legs were just like had nothing left in them. And so I just laid there for who knows how long, just like face in the sand, totally exhausted. And thankfully, at this point, it was a perfect morning. Like the sun's out, there's no wind. And eventually I turn over, just like face the sun. Like, all right, like you gotta like gather your strength here. And Savannah comes and sits beside me. And I'm laying there. And it was just like the height of everything in the sense of I pushed my body to the point of collapse. Like, how many people do that where you actually collapse from exhaustion? And then I'm at 15,000 feet in the Altiplano, over 8,000 miles of walking from home with a dog, with my best friend that I never imagined I'd have. It
Mm.
was like I could see us, and you have the children's book. So there's a moment in the children's book, which is that's the real moment. And it was just like everything that I had hoped to get out of the walk was held in that little moment. And yeah, it was beautiful.
Wow. I love that story. What did you listen to all day?
I listen to music, I listen to podcasts, listen to audiobooks, all sorts of stuff. I was constantly listening to stuff. A lot of Eagles podcasts for entertainment when it was the Eagles season, but
Got it.
all sorts. I was like so deep in the podcast world that was the primary entertainment.
Got it. So you didn't just listen to the elements, you had something going on to help you
Oh yeah. Yeah,
get
yeah.
through.
I mean, and if it was like if I was on a busier road, I would put on like Tiesto's Club Life, like electronic music or something to like drown it out and be like, all right, you're just gonna focus for the next 2 hours and just like get through this. And then when it was quieter or I was relaxed a little bit, then I'd put on a podcast or an audiobook or something. But yeah, I listen to stuff all the time. And when you're doing it when you're walking 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, it's not like you're paying attention to all of it 10 hours a day. You kind of go in and out. A lot of it was just like, that's nice to have like a voice in the background
Right.
while I'm out here.
So at what point do you realize you're done? I mean, you moved back to the United States, you came back home. Are you done? Will you do more walking eventually?
I might do more walking, but I'm not walking around the world again. That
Okay.
is no way. By the time the walk was over, I pushing that baby carriage when I was thinking, man, I'm going to throw this thing off the Ben Franklin Bridge. I can't wait to get rid of this thing. Like I was so over it by the end. It's a beautiful life. It is. I say the 7 years felt like 20. Like every day, so packed with experience. I grew so much, but it's difficult. You're
Mhm.
out there on your own. You're in the elements every day. You're tired every day. You're always slightly on your heels because you don't want to offend anyone. You want to like be respectful of people, especially when you're abroad. So you're always a little bit on your heels. And even coming to the US, it was nice to be able to relax in a little way where it's like, all right, this is my country. I
Mhm.
can be how I want to be in this country in a certain way. Um, Probably, I'm already thinking about, man, I would love to do, the AT or the PCT or something like that. And who knows, maybe it'll get there. But as far as walking around the world with a baby carriage, that's one and done. I would
It's
say.
over. The next time you have a baby carriage in front of you, maybe it'll be your own child.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you have now become a public speaker, correct?
Yeah.
And you have a book coming out in October called The World Walk. Can you just tell people a little bit about what to expect with that?
Yeah, the World Walk is just a great adventure story. I put 2 years of writing. I've been writing since I got out of college. I really enjoy it. I wrote all along the walk. I kept detailed journals and then obviously photos and videos. So this was, this book is the culmination of my growth, basically. That's the story it's telling is me going from this naive suburbanite who has no idea what the world is, how to defend himself against the world, into someone who has a greater understanding and who knows how to, survive anywhere, basically. So ultimately, it's just a great adventure story, and it's kind of a love story. Me and Bonnie, my girlfriend, also Savannah, who's like the Sam Gamgee of the story, who's there through everything, getting me through everything. So there's a lot of different elements. You learn a lot about the world. It was a joy to write, and my editor was fantastic. I think it's a really fantastic book. So that's The World Walk coming out October 8th.
Mhm.
Get it anywhere.